Kyle Klingman with Trackwrestling. We are going out to California for the founder of Titan Mercury Wrestling Club, also the executive director. He's heavily involved with Beat the Streets Los Angeles and the self-proclaimed greatest wrestler in the history of Columbia wrestling, Andy Barth. How are you?
Yes, I am not, Kyle. There are a lot of wrestlers. I would not proclaim that, and there are a lot of wrestlers who were better than me.
Well,
So,
you had said, the reason I said that is because I think you said if there were 33 people on the team, you were number 34.
that's what my coach said. I think that was in my junior year when I had gotten better. He was happy sharing that comment. He said when Andy Barth walked into the room, we had, I think he said we had 31 guys on the team, and he was the 33rd best guy on the team. So I wasn't even better than the practice dummy. But then I got better, and I like to say I was a good wrestler that had a few great moments, and that keeps you going for a long time.
But clearly wrestling was a catalyst for you. It built you. It gave you skills. What do you feel like it implemented into you that you still carry today?
Well, I think you always have that mentality that, of humility and of hard work, and that no matter how good you were one day, no matter who you beat, no matter what tournament you won, odds are that there's going to be someone that someone better is going to come along in a pretty short period of time. So you always have to keep working hard. You always have to stay humble. Always have to keep working on your skills. You can't ever let up. And that also, I think, a very realistic outlook that, whatever happens in the past, whatever losses you've experienced, you just have to put it behind you. And, you did something wrong. That was yesterday. Go forward. Try to do better. Try to get it right. Try to work hard to improve your craft. So perseverance, discipline, hard work. I mean, all great values to have, and then humility to know that just because you won one day doesn't mean that you're the best out there.
You endowed the head coaching position. Why was it important to you to stay actively involved with the Columbia wrestling program?
Well, I think I had gotten a tremendous amount out of that. We'd had a really good experience. I think that was one example where, again, you just you learn so much, and you have such a you develop good friendships and good memories. And I think that I was worried about wrestling programs. I think here we are, 20 years, 30 years after that, and we still have to be worried about wrestling programs. So I think that while it's no for certain guarantee, I felt that endowing the program was probably the highest probability action I could take to try to ensure that Columbia would always maintain a wrestling program. So that was it. And I think, we're working hard. Wrestling's working hard. Mike Moyer over at the National Wrestling Coach Association is working hard. USA Wrestling is working hard to see that we're continuing to help new programs start up, try to help prevent programs from getting cut. But it's a constant battle, and so got to stay hungry. Have to keep driving.
How do we drive to make sure that all of these programs are endowed and it never happens that we have programs get dropped?
Well, I think every coach needs to do the smartest job they can of building up an alumni support base. It's extremely difficult. We'll see what happens. We had 2 drops this year. Old Dominion and Stanford. I know folks are scrambling to try to build up the support they can to maintain those programs. And I think you have to be ahead of it. You have to have your alumni developed ahead of time. You have to show that you've got great support. You have to be um, additive to your university. Um, I think you have to show that you're maintaining good academic standards and not having any, trying not to have any disciplinary problems. Um, when uh, it's too much work to try to do it when someone's in the process of getting dropped. You have to be proactive and looking ahead to have all these things in place, ahead of time.
Your son went to Columbia. I think his name's Andrew as well. Did he have a
That's
good?
correct.
Yeah, good experience for him.
He did. He did. He actually had a really bad football injury. He had a badly torn labrum that limited um, his time both in the room and his potential, but he definitely enjoyed the experience and found it to be, positive. And we're working hard to try to continue to improve the program at Columbia. It's a pretty sound program. It's got some tough Ivy League competition and then some tough Eastern competition, but um, you know the coach there is doing a good job. The young men are working hard. There's a New York City RTC that has been set up to be in and around and supportive of that program. We got a couple really great coaches involved there, and they're doing a good job of attracting some really impressive people to come in that room, be around the program, set a good example. So
Rob Cole of Cornell is the standard for fundraising. You hear that a lot. What if he came to you and said, "Hey, Andy, you want to donate?"
well, Titan Mercury does help the Spartan, the Spartan RTC. I think it's called the Spartan RTC now. It used to be called Finger Lakes Wrestling Club. Now it's Spartan. So, we have some really good guys who wrestle for Titan Mercury out of there. We've had Kyle Dake, and now Yanni Giacomohalis is wrestling for Titan Mercury. So we try to support the RTCs for where our wrestlers are training, and that goes. And by the way, I'll make a point. We make sure that it's not limited to where our men freestyle wrestlers train. We'll support. We try to support the RTCs where our female, where our women wrestlers would be training as well.
Take us through your desire to start Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. It really has changed the sport for the better. Why was there a drive for you to start this great club?
I tell you, and it didn't start. I didn't foresee what it would become. I had wanted to start in Southern California. I'd wanted to start, a club that could really help promote youth wrestling, help our Southern California wrestlers develop to be competitive. And just around that same time, I think everyone knows Jim Ravenek. Jim had been given so much to the sport and incredibly generous and positive influence through the Gator Wrestling Club. He announced that he was going to be, winding down Gator. And I kind of looked and saw that, I had a little bit more capacity, financial capacity to help some of our senior level wrestlers. So, I mean, I talked to Jim about maybe picking up some of his Gator wrestlers, and we had some other connections develop, and we were that fall, we were competing with a small but pretty effective team, and we picked up, terrific women wrestlers like Elena Pershkova. And on the men's side, we picked up people like Win Mahalik and Keith Gavin. And it was, it just kind of led, and it was exciting to meet these young people and see, just what they were trying to accomplish, what their goals were, and how they were working hard to achieve them. And I started to understand, yeah, that we could really help our sport. I think that you looked at and it wasn't right off the bat that we realized it, but I think that we realized it um, a little bit down the road. Just what we needed really was depth. We had the depth, but we were losing wrestlers to, they had to get on, some of them had to get on with life. They had to get jobs. Some of them were looking at, uh, you know, um, MMA and ultimate fighting, mixed martial arts. And that, we realized we could get in there. We could help support these young people along the way. We could help keep a higher level of depth active in wrestling, and that we could help improve our sport, help grow the sport. And so it just sort of kind of took off from there. One thing led to the other, and when you get involved with something, you'd like to compete, you'd like to do the best you can, and so I think it's got exciting also to be able to win championships. I think it was when we were able to go overseas and win that Clubs Cup against Iran in Ukraine. I think that was like in 2016 or 2017. I mean, that was a huge thrill to watch those folks, watch those young men wrestle over there, and beat beat world class talent in a active setting. And then of course to follow that up, yeah. So it was 2016, following the Rio Olympics, and then we had the um, and then to watch the U.S. win that world championship, in Paris in 2017. I mean, those were just exciting events. And it's been a thrill. It's been a thrill to watch our women's team improve. Our women are now U.S. women are consistently top two, top three, and they're banging on the door of the Japanese, and I think they're going to win. They're going to win a world championship here in the next few years. They have the capability, and they have the talent. They're developing depth. So it's exciting to see these young people and get to know them, hear what some of their goals and objectives are, help them out, watch them work hard, and then watch them achieve success. It's a little bit like the American dream.
The club system is such a fascinating part of wrestling, whether it started with Hawkeye Wrestling Club, Cowboy Wrestling Club, Foxcatcher was in there. You mentioned Gator. How do we make sure that Titan Mercury is going to be sustainable and it'll be around for another 100 years?
Oh, I haven't figured that one out yet. um, you know, uh, that's I mean, that is one, for 100 years. It's a challenge to think about, because it is something that, we do generate some small monies from our youth wrestling programs, and young people, sort of paying the dues. But that's small. I mean, it is mostly supported by my family and myself, and we're committed to continue to do that. How it lasts for 100 years, I don't quite have an answer for you yet. It is, there's a challenge to that in the country, that so many, I mean, and the RTCs at many of the schools, they're supported by private philanthropy. by alumni of the college that's associated, that's attached to that RTC. Um, so uh, I guess the answer would be is you keep finding wrestlers who have had a good experience, have learned a lot, have a passion and appreciation for the sport, and then they're able to be successful in the world, and then have the desire to give back. And I think I do try to impress on our wrestlers, that it's at some point it's important to give back to the sport because the sport gave a lot to you, and that there's a lot, that being successful. I started to try to talk about it in slightly different terms, in to our wrestlers, that there's being successful in life, and there's achieving your goals. Achieving your goals are one important measure of your success, but it's not the only measure. The success is, what type of person do you become? And do you take the lessons that you've learned from wrestling to shape you as a person? And that as you go through the sport, even if you're not able to achieve all your goals, did you do everything you can to try to achieve them? And in that regard, did you have, do you move forward with no regrets about the effort that you put in? And I think that goes for wrestling. I think that goes for life as well. So hopefully some of that will sink in, and there'll be other people who, I won't live forever, and there'll be other people who will pick things up along the way.
Do you feel like there's a competition between Titan Mercury and Sunkist?
You know, I think, art has done so much for this sport. The Martori family, they have done more for longer than anybody, and they deserve recognition for that. And we work together on certain issues, and with Art and Kim, and I think we have a really good relationship. I think that yeah, we'd like to win. I think each of us likes to win when we can, and I think it's more important that we give it our best effort. But I think more often we see ourselves working towards the same goal. The goal is to produce and to help put our young men and our young women on the world and the Olympic podiums. And we see ourselves having the same goal, the same mission. I think we do things a little differently, that's good. If we did things exactly the same, you wouldn't need one of us. We do things a little differently, and I think that allows for a great improvement in the sport. I think we both, would like to win, but I don't think we would ever compete in a way that was ever considered anything more than fair competition.
Beat the Streets Los Angeles, what a great organization Beat the Streets is. What influence have you seen that organization make in Los Angeles?
Well, I think, Los Angeles is just so huge, and it's and we are probably there's probably about 800, 900, 1,000 young people that are being positively affected by Beat the Streets LA each year. That they're coming through practice, they're participating, they're having some interaction. I think it's starting. We're starting to now see some of those young people now are on to college, and some are starting to think about what they're going to do afterwards, and I think it'll be something that will benefit and have an impact long into the future, and it'll gradually grow. We're trying also to see, things are kind of shut down right now because there's no attendance at the schools, and we can't really have that. We're trying to see how we could do things in the fall, to interact in a socially distanced way. We have to make sure that we follow the appropriate rules. We can't cut any corners. We can't take risks in that regard. Um, we're trying to see what we might be able to do. Yaru, I think you've probably spoken to Yaru in the past. He's an excellent executive director for Beat the Streets Los Angeles, and he's trying to think how can we possibly do socially distanced workouts with wrestling skills and in outdoor settings. He and his staff, they really have produced an excellent summer virtual program that involved some physical activities, some mental activities, some educational content, and we had, I think, we probably had on a regular basis 150 young people participating in that virtual program over the summer. So I think we're starting to see benefits. We're starting to see young people come back through the program. The testimonials that you hear from the parents of some of these young people is just incredibly heartwarming. And I think it's building. We're about 8 years now into it. And I think that this whole COVID situation will slow us down a bit, but when things lift, we'll be able to pick up activity again and continue to introduce young people to wrestling and introduce them to the lessons that I've learned.
Any chance we'll get an American Wrestling League too?
I think we're going to have to wait until the COVID situation lifts. I think we'd like to look at that. I think a lot of people are looking at ways to hold competitions now. I think that there could be some things that happen between now and when we get to a situation where we can have a wrestling league. I think it would be that on a long-term basis, finding a way to have a league and to have a means for wrestlers to earn, to help them earn a living and keep them active, keep them in the sport, generate fan excitement, grow the audience. I think all of those are positives. And so we keep looking for the moment and how to make that happen.
How do you maximize and manage your time, Andy?
Well, I think you try to the best thing is you try to be organized, in your scheduling. You also try to make sure that you get enough. You try to make sure you get enough rest. I get more rest now that I'm retired from my business career, because you don't want to go in if you go into a call and it's you're tired or you can't focus. You're not gonna think things through as well or make as good decisions. I think that try to stay, and when you are engaged with someone, try to stay focused on the matter at hand. It's so easy to let your mind wander and get especially now that we have our phones. It's we get wrapped up in multitasking. Well, sometimes it's better to address the task at hand. I think try to surround yourself and help yourself with work with good people, and then trust them with what they can do. Johnny Rugen, our director of operations at Titan Mercury, he's doing a great job. It takes a lot of responsibility in running our club. So those are a few things.
How do you make a determination on what you say yes to and what you say no to?
Well, I try to start to think about, okay, what are the long-term ramifications and precedents? Is it something that I think will really be good for our athletes? Is it something that'll be good for the sport? Is it something that's going to be good for the club? I try to think about not is it something that sounds like, hey, that's a neat idea for now, but will it have legs? Will it have a long lasting um, uh, um, ability to benefit us?
Who are the few people that you've enjoyed interacting with in this role with Titan Mercury that you've really liked, that kind of
Oh,
like just gotten to interact with?
oh, there's Kyle, boy, there's so many great people in this sport. Um, and I've met so many wonderful people through the sport of wrestling. Um, I mean, I have a great relationship with some of the some of the heroes in our sport. I love to talk to Dan Gable. I love to chat with Bruce Baumgartner. They're wonderful guys. Now, if I don't include John Smith, his feelings will be hurt. He's fabulous to talk to, and then I mentioned him. And now if I don't mention the other coaches like, Tom and Terry Brands and Tom Ryan and, Pat Papalizio and Rob Cole, then I'll hurt their feelings. It's great. That's great. And then the wrestlers. I mean, I mean, when I was a team leader, I really felt a very close attachment, to those. I felt, and by the way, I felt an attachment to more than just the men's freestyle team, but I mean, I really felt a great attachment to, those 6 young people, and I'll remember them. I mean, Daniel Dennis, still working with him now because he's now the RTC coach at Hawkeye. Frank Molinaro wrestled for us, and I know he's over at Arizona State right now, but he'll be. I think that within 5, 6, 7, 8 years, he's going to be a head coach somewhere. Jordan Boros, what a marvelous human being. What he has done for the sport. What a great example. Um, you know, then Jaden Cox, great young man, so talented. I, I still continue to be impressed with his talents and his poise. Kyle Snyder. I mean, well, you have to be partial to anyone named Kyle, don't you?
I am.
But Kyle Snyder, what a great young man. Tremendous family. Discipline, faith, drive, down to earth, and Tervel Delognev. I hope you ought to make a little special note. Tervel now is an Olympic medalist. It's official that he got the bronze medal. In case that hasn't been highlighted enough, Tervel Delognev is a bronze medalist from the London Olympics. That is really impressive. Tervel to me is like a philosopher warrior, and you're going to have to interview him about that. And he may say he doesn't understand, but he knows what I mean. He's a philosopher warrior. He has a great outlook on life. And now, he's coaching at the Ohio RTC along with Logan Stieber. And I mean, I loved being with the teams, but those 6 young men, I'll always remember them. And that was a great experience being a team leader. The coaches that were with that team also. I mean, well, Bill Zadek is now running a team, and Bruce Burnett, what a gentleman, what a smart guy, and what a great gentleman. I mean, I love that. And then now, if I leave out the wonderful people that Rich Bender has been great to work with at USA Wrestling. We often talk about things, and I just I'm sorry, I'm going to stop now, but I've left out other great people, great referees. Um, you know,
You got to
it's
mention there's got to be a few women in there too.
oh I mean, Marcy Van Duzen, our, the coach, for our head coach for Titan Mercury women's team, just a great eye for talent. And, now uh, and she's still doing that. It's a great teacher, great mother. We've added a couple of wonderful women to our Beat the Streets Los Angeles board. Um, Laura Stein and Sally Roberts. I love what Sally's doing with Wrestle Like a Girl. It's you know, hitting on all the right messages and trying to build that sport. I think, and we have we're going to be it's going to be very exciting. Titan Mercury, we had two women's world champs in at Nur Sultan in Kazakhstan. We had Tamara Mensa and Jakara Winchester. I'm not going to put any pressure on them, but they have the ability. They have the ability to extend that type of success, into the Olympics and the Worlds again. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people.
How do you make a determination on who's in Titan Mercury Wrestling Club? Do you recruit them or do they approach you?
It happens both ways. We have a close working relationship with several of the RTCs. So, I mean, that's one mechanism. A lot of people will come to us. We'll also identify folks. It's and there's a balance. We can't take everybody. We're we're reluctant. We're reluctant to push people out. But people gradually do retire. Spots open up. We try to have several really competitive wrestlers at each weight, if we can.
We got to end with this, Andy. How about that beard? You got to tell us how long that took to grow.
So this one is 2 months old. This one's 2 months old. I'd started actually growing one when this whole COVID situation broke out. I grew it for about 3.5 months, and then I shaved it off. And then a few days later, I started on another one, and that's about 2 months ago. So, thank you for not pointing out how much gray is in there. Your beard, by the way, I mean, is that is a young man's beard. Looks good, and gives you sets your jaw in a strong and positive way, Kyle.
I appreciate that. Maybe we just make a deal right now that we grow it out till the Olympics and just see how long it can get.
Let's talk about that later.